Last spring, while hiking near our home, I discovered artifacts from the violent history of Los Angeles, California. Lawlessness was common in frontier cities of the American West. Tombstone and Dodge City are legendary, but neither had the violence approaching that of Los Angeles. Robberies and assassinations were a daily occurrence. In 1853, Los Angeles formed a volunteer mounted police force known as the Los Angeles Rangers. They were supposed to make things better, but instead of getting better, they got worse. You couldn't tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. Hollywood's movies about the West were fabrication. Gunfights didn't just happen at high noon. Death was at arm's length. It could happen at any time and anywhere and by any means possible. According to the Historical Society of Southern California, the common greeting in 1894 was, "Well, how many people were killed last night?" 300 or more people were dying each year back then. The city was a tinderbox of racial hatred, violence, and corruption. All of this is a backdrop to what I discovered only 7 miles from where we live. The Castaic Range War, 1890 to 1916, was one of the largest range wars in American history and one of the bloodiest events in California, claiming somewhere between 21 and 40 people. No one knows the exact number. I discovered the Hanging Tree and Ghost Rock where the final acts of violence took place. The location is not on any map, but it is known by the old-timers and relatives of those who were killed. As I was walking the trails, I ran into a group of about 20 people who were maintaining an area of the Angeles National Forest, keeping it free from graffiti and safe. It had trails and stairs and resting areas, and it was spectacular. This allowed folks to use that area for rock climbing and reduce the possibility of being bitten by rattlesnakes. This area was safe during the day, but not at night. I came by and stayed quite a few hours one night and discovered that the whole place changed. I observed cars driving in, parking in hidden locations. There were transactions happening. I'm not sure what they were. And also, I heard spears being thrown at one particular oak tree. And there were screams and loud noises. I felt very unsafe and left after a couple of hours. William Jenkins moved to the Los Angeles area with his family when he was 16 in 1853. He grew up to be a gambler and a ruffian of all sorts, a gunman. He enjoyed making things right. He ran a successful ranch and oil company. He was always active in the community affairs and was deputized as a Los Angeles County constable from 1858 to 1864. And he also became a lieutenant in the Los Angeles Rangers. Nothing was going to get past him. By 1872, Jenkins staked a claim near the Castaic Creek, building a ranch called the Lazy Z. In 1890, William Cormickle, another rancher, settled nearby, claiming to have bought 1,600 acres of the same land as Jenkins from the railroads. This claim conflicted with that of Jenkins. The two men failed to resolve the dispute peacefully in court, and it escalated into violence. Jenkins sent 3 men into the disputed land. Cormickle and his friend William A. Gardner fired on the intruders, killing 2 of them. Cormickle and Gardner surrendered to the sheriff, and a trial was set. They pleaded self-defense, saying that they were protecting the property. The trial was held in the new Los Angeles County Courthouse, and it lasted 18 days, one of the longest trials in Los Angeles County history at that time. The jury found Cormickle and Gardner not guilty. This infuriated Jenkins. The United States Land Office awarded Cormickle 1,600 acres of real estate previously claimed by Jenkins. The trial was over, but the range war was just beginning. As you can imagine, the dispute escalated into everything from mining, grazing, water rights, road building, and so forth. Barns were burned and many people were killed on both sides. President Theodore Roosevelt decided to send newly appointed U.S. Forest Ranger Robert Emmett Clark to intimidate both men and stop the violence. Clark was previously a 6-horse stage driver who could handle difficult situations. And it worked. Clark succeeded in keeping the peace, and so he left in 1913. And the moment that he left, the war resumed. Jenkins survived being shot in the chest. The feud continued. A group of men working for Jenkins burned down William Gardner's house, killing him and some members of his family. Cormickle retaliated by having his rival's son, David Jenkins, lynched in Bouquet Canyon. In March 1913, Jenkins was shot again while herding cattle off the disputed land. An ally of Cormickle, Billy Rose, was the guy who shot him. Well, Jenkins was shot again and again, but he just didn't die. He always recovered. So again, he recovered. The feud drew to a close. Rose pleaded self-defense as Jenkins was a recognized gunfighter. Jenkins eventually died of illness in October 1916 while visiting relatives in Los Angeles. Cormickle died of chronic kidney disease in March 1919. Today, much of the disputed land is submerged under Castaic Lake behind Castaic Dam. In 1998, workers at a housing development site unearthed pine boxes containing the remains of an infant and 4 adult men. It is believed that this was the Jenkins family cemetery, and the bodies were some of the final victims of the Range War. The location where William Jenkins' son David was killed is nicknamed Hangman's Canyon in reference to the lynching and nearby rock formation called Ghost Rock. Robert Emmett Clark's role in ending the Castaic Range War received a lot of attention. After his service, Robert headed for Tombstone, Arizona, where he worked as a cowboy and formed a lifelong friendship with the famous Wyatt Earp. He was regarded as honest, humane, and energetic. In 1922, Bob was elected sheriff of Ventura County, California. And in 1933, he was appointed United States Marshal for the Southern District of California and was the last of the frontier marshals. This puts a smile on my face because it ends on a positive note. Robert Emmett Clark, known as Bob, characterizes the best of the West. Until next time, peace be with you.